So cars, SUVs, just vehicles in general, they can serve a lot of purposes. They can be an appliance, getting your kids to and from school or taking yourself to work. Or they can be a toy you can take to the track, have some fun, maybe to the canyons on the twisties and turnies. Or they could be a status symbol showing how alpha you are. It'd be really expensive. It's kind of what this is.
This is the Lamborghini Urus.
Wait, what?
No,
Hold up.
No, I want this one.
Excuse me. This is the Lamborghini Urus Performante. Lamborghini decided back in 2018 to hop on the SUV trend, making one of the first super sport utility vehicles. It definitely takes after its coupe'd siblings with dramatic styling, a wide stance, and bright color, but this allows you to bring the whole squad with you. And since this 2023 Urus is the Performante, it's 100 pounds lighter, has more horses, sits lower and wider, and gets even bolder styling than the standard Urus. Yeah, this looks like a traditional Lamborghini. I mean, it has sharp character lines, an aggressive front end, and because this is the Performante, this has a revised splitter in the front. It looks really aggressive, and it has carbon fiber bits all around, like on the hood and on the wheel arches with these 23-inch wheels. But the only difference is the engine is located in the front, not in the rear, because back there you have roughly around 22 cubic feet of cargo room. And that's plenty of room when you want to do wardrobe changes, carry some suitcases, or just lug around anything. Those dimensions aren't bad for a super SUV, and for more practicality, the rear seats can fold down for even more space. Inside the cabin, as you would expect from an Italian supercar company, the interior is luxe. There's an abundance of alcantara and carbon fiber, and the Urus eliminates the stigma of bigger guys having to squeeze into something exotic. Unlike its supercar siblings, this actually has a decent room on the inside and good ingress and egress. I am 6'4". I can just slide right into the seats very comfortably, and the seats are comfortable. They don't have a lot of bolstering on the side, so they're not super aggressive. And the materials in here are top notch. It feels really good. The steering wheel feels really good in my hands. The metal paddle shifters have a nice feel to them. And there's alcantara pretty much everywhere. But let's fit myself in the back and see how that goes. Moving to the rear, the Italian interior opulence doesn't stop. Your guests will be greeted with suede seats, suede headliner, large panoramic roof, individual climate control settings, and 2 USB-C ports. And in case you were wondering, yes, a child seat fits back there just nicely. And I'll tell you, back here, it's not bad at all. I still have a little bit of knee room. Again, I'm 6'4", sitting behind my ideal seating position. And I like that my feet can fit under the seat, and I have ample headroom. And back here, same seating situation. The materials feel really good. However, if you want to sit in the middle seat, don't be a tall guy, because not only do you have this transmission tunnel down here, but your head is going to be all squished up against the headliner. So just make sure you're behind someone that's not really tall. You get some more leg room, and you're in the back seat of a super SUV. This is a pretty good situation. Yeah, the rear is nice and all, but we all want to be up front in the driver's seat where we can operate that fighter jet style ignition switch, use the dual touchscreen setup on the center stack with wireless phone connectivity, and configure the digital gauge cluster. Inside the cabin of the Urus is just all premium materials. You have some matte carbon fiber right here, you have your alcantara on the dash, and you have 2 large screens on your center console. One controls your HVAC and the other just infotainment, and it's haptic feedback, so just make sure your inputs are intentional. Couple things that I don't like are the ledge right here, because if something is at the bottom, it's kind of weird to input. And also the cup holder situation, because these are pretty small cup holders. I mean, granted, it is a supercar SUV, but a little bit more space would have helped. But you have a large digital gauge cluster that gives you some pertinent information. You have a wireless charging port right here with 2 USB-C outlets, and you also have this little itty bitty nook to store your Lambo key, just in case you want to whip it out on somebody on the road and say, hey, guess what I'm driving.
All right, well, looks like it's time to get on the road.
Yeah, let's get out on the road, all right. Hitting the pavement in this fast, loud, and expensive SUV is just a joy. The Urus Performante gets a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 pushing out 657 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque, which is 16 horsepower more than the standard Urus, but torque remains the same. This is all linked up to a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission and has standard all-wheel drive. The Performante, with a 0 to 60 time of 3.3 seconds and a max speed of 190 miles per hour, delivers that driving experience you'd expect from the Raging Bull brand. And the noises, oh, the noises this thing makes. Like you would expect from a Lamborghini, this thing is quick. The power you get from that twin-turbo V8 is almost intoxicating. And that's linked up to an 8-speed automatic transmission with a torque converter. It's not a dual-clutch transmission. And that's a lot more livable. When you come to a complete stop, it's easier to get going and you don't get that jerky feeling that you would from a dual-clutch transmission, which is good in a practical, almost practical, supercar SUV. You know what, the roads are wet, but let's see if I can do a quick launch. So you throw it down in the Corsa, foot on the brake, give it some gas. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, that definitely feels like 3.3 seconds going to 60. Driving the Urus around town does not feel like a chore, except when you have to go to the gas station so much, because this will get an EPA estimated 16 miles per gallon in combined driving. However, there's a great balance between livability and thrills without sacrificing agility or power. If you're ever worried about maneuverability, this does have 4-wheel steering, so you can get in that parking spot inside of the grocery store. It's great to know that this really expensive performance SUV is easy to drive. You have the ground clearance of a crossover, making it harder to scrape up the front end, and adrenaline pumping power. You have a few different drive modes. Right now I'm in Strata, which is pretty much the tamest drive mode. The steering is light. Even though this is riding on steel springs, the suspension is soaking up the bumps really nicely, and it's a livable drive mode. But if you want something a little bit more aggressive, bump it down to sport via this shifter here, and you get a little bit more weight on your steering. Some of the nannies get turned off, and you also get a stiffer suspension with a much louder exhaust note, as you can hear. But if you want to put this thing in its most aggressive setting, throw it into Corsa mode. It's more track focused, your throttle response is much more abrupt, and the exhaust note gets substantially louder. And even going into this right turn, I can feel the back try to come out just a little bit, but man, those tires are so wide and this all-wheel drive system is so good, you feel very much planted to the ground, and there's not a lot of body roll going on thanks to the active sway bars in front. So even though this is a big heavy SUV, it still drives like it's a supercar. Those drive modes do a great job on dividing the characteristics of the Urus, and if you ever feel like fine-tuning it to your liking, you can do that as well with the Ego switch, or maybe it's Ego. Anyway, you'll have a limited slip center differential with asymmetrical distribution and an active torque vectoring rear differential, which will be sending power to the appropriate wheels, and these huge carbon ceramic brakes will stop you with haste. I gotta tell you, these big brakes get the job done. So I'll come up and I'll lay on the brakes. Now, yeah, the brakes right at the top, they're really grabby and they feel really good. Going into this turn, all right. Steering, I wish I got a little bit more feedback from the steering wheel, but overall it still feels good. And coming out of this corner, those back tires grip, and yeah, it sends you out on your way. This feels exactly like how it should. Supercar performance, but the practicality of an SUV. I honestly think this is a perfect day-to-day driver if you can afford it. I mean, the seats are comfortable, the steering wheel feels great in my hands, and even the paddle shifters, they have this satisfying click. I wish they were mounted to the steering column, but they're mounted to the steering wheel, which is just fine. Visibility up top going outward looks completely fine, and over my left shoulder it looks good. However, because of that high belt line and thick seat pillar, visibility over my right shoulder can be a bit compromised, but thankfully there's driving aids to help out with that. Those safety features include blind spot monitor with rear cross traffic alert, forward collision mitigation, head-up display, front and rear parking sensors, adaptive cruise control with stop and go technology, and lane departure warning. So one thing that I've noticed about the lane centering assist is it can be a bit grabby. So I'll show you now. You drift off a little bit and it'll kind of yank you back into the lane. And that can be a bit unnerving for a lot of people driving their $300,000 SUV. But it lets you know to keep your hands on the wheel. And if you don't like it, I mean, you should be driving in sport mode anyway, because sport mode does shut off a lot of your nannies just like that. Pricing for the base Urus Performante starts at just under $261,000. But with all of the options on our tester, like the carbon package, 23-inch wheels, black calipers, sport steering wheel, panoramic roof, and specialized interior, you'll be looking at just under $320,000 for your very own super SUV. If you're looking to get your dream car or SUV like this Urus Performante, or maybe a minivan or sedan, go to kbb.com and get a fair purchase price. Click the link above for more details. Competitors in this super sport luxury SUV segment include the Aston Martin DBX 707, Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT, the upcoming Ferrari Purosangue, and if you feel the Urus is too expensive, check out its platform mate with 591 horsepower and starts just under 126 grand, the Audi RS Q8. So for what this is, a performance SUV, it does have a great balance of livability and excitement. I mean, you can definitely drive this around and forget that you're in a SUV that has over 600 horsepower. But an easy reminder is to just click down in the Corsa mode and just rev it out. But be careful, because that can definitely get you some unwanted attention.
So what's up, everybody? It's your boy Jeff from Auto Trader, finishing my review of the Lamborghini.
No, this is my review. I'm gonna wrap up. So, if you're looking for an SUV with supercar performance, damn good looks, and practicality, well, if you have the extra ducats, maybe you should check out the Urus Performante. Wait, took my glasses.